But the big other sector, or rather group of stocks that have been in focus have been the entire PSU space, as well as now the SUUTI stocks, which include Axis Bank, ITC, as well as L&T, where the government might look to divest their stake within these three stocks. Prithvi Haldea, CMD of Prime Database, joins in to talk about the government's divestment program. Mr. Haldea, thanks very much for joining in. Just getting straight to the Axis Bank SUUTI stake sale, what do you think will be the most likely route adopted for the SUUTI stake sale, and what do you think will be even the interest generated once and if it does come through in February?
I think Axis, again, I would very strongly recommend that we should follow the Maruti method, which was a closed auction. You remember the government had got rid of its final stake through a closed auction, and the bids that had come were all above the market prices. Axis Bank is a thriving bank. It's a bank with a future. It's a bank with a presence in India. There would be investors who would be willing to acquire shares at a price much higher than the market price. And I would strongly recommend that SUUTI should not be through an FPO or an offer for sale in the present methodology. We should look at strategic investors bidding in a closed auction, and I'm sure that the pricing that the government would obtain would be much better than the current market prices.
Okay, so that's on the Axis Bank SUUTI stake sale. But Mr. Haldea, the government, and we've heard this many times before, is mulling a PSU ETF. How do you think it will work, and do you think that product will generate as much interest?
Well, it is again an idea which has been considered for long, but again my thinking on this investment is very clear. I've been saying that this investment should not be looked as upon an instrument for fiscal deficit. This investment should be looked upon as a method of enlarging and deepening our capital markets. These present very good opportunities of increasing our retail investors base. We should try to reach out to every nook and corner. These are government stocks. These are good companies. They are companies with good track record. There is no question mark on the credentials of the companies. The important issue is price. Offer good discounts to retail. Do a 100% retail offering at a discount to the market price. There is enough interest in the retail to acquire these stocks, and that is a sure way of enlarging our capital markets. We've been bemoaning the lack of number of investors in the market. We've been saying that small investors are not participating in equity. I think the best way to get new investors and small investors into the market is through the disinvestment route. And the best way of doing it is to do a 100% retail offering at a discount to the market price. This is public wealth going back to the public. There will be no questions asked on the discount. This is politically also a good move. And I think the best way of going forward should be to offer these stocks at a discount to the retail.
Prithvi, hi, morning. The other issue is about cross-holdings. Will that be one route that the government will try and push?
Yes, so if you want, again, if the entire objective is, fiscal deficit, then you can use any of these methods, buyback, cross-holding, etc. Cross-holding, I've always maintained again that, there is no strategic value that the acquiring company is getting by 2% or a 5% or a minimal stake in another similar sector company. They would not get a board position. They would not really be heard in terms of their requirements, and there cannot be any compromises in terms of pricing or quality of raw material in case it's a raw material supplying company. So cross-holding, if it is being sold as a concept that it helps strategically the companies, I do not agree with that, and I think cross-holding is not a good idea. So any of these other methods that we are looking at are purely aimed at meeting the fiscal deficit, and I think we should do away with that objective. Let that be a byproduct. Let that not be the primary object of a divestment. Let us concentrate on deepening our capital markets.
Yeah. So Prithvi, let's talk about some other issues then. Let's talk about the Vedanta Group, because BALCO has received the green light finally from the Law Ministry. But do you perceive any further bottlenecks on how much could it take up for the government, and what route do you think the government will adopt for BALCO and even for Hindustan Zinc?
On both these sale, again, my advice would be on a closed auction. There are people who would like to acquire these stocks. These companies are doing well, and there would be enough interest in the marketplace. again, we keep hearing of these names, IOC, BHEL, SAIL, Hindustan Zinc. These names have been hitting the headlines for the last several years, most of them. We just keep dragging on. I think there has to be some kind of a rethink in terms of how you plan, announce and execute a deal. And I think the markets will keep changing. You can never hope that you will always maximize your returns. Even in these two cases, for example, the government can also think in terms of a pure retail offering at a discount, or do a strategic closed auction sale, but not use any of the other routes which would not optimize the returns nor help with the objective of enlarging the capital market.
Okay, Mr. Haldea, point taken. The other route which the government is looking at quite closely is the special dividend route. Do you think that the special dividend will only come from Coal India, or could they push other PSUs as well? Because the interim dividends, we do understand, is already factored into the budget.
It could come in from companies beyond Coal India. It's not necessary that only Coal India may be required. There could be dividend from other companies also. So I think let's watch and see and hope that divestment is re-looked at in a fresh manner. ETF is an idea that can be pursued because it is aimed at small investors. I think the sooner we launch it, the better it is. Although the retail investor would prefer direct investing into PSU stocks rather than going through a vehicle or an ETF.
Okay, in your opinion, do you think that the divestment target will be met, or rather how much will be met according to you?
Well, typically every year we have this disinvestment target announced in February during the budget speech. We see it almost the entire year pass by without any significant activity. The entire pressure builds up in the last quarter. We've seen a repeat of the same thing even this year. 40,000 crores is no big amount. It can be achieved singly through SUUTI sale. However, with the kind of environment that we are living in, the kind of ministerial opposition that we have to these investments, given the price beating that most of these stocks have taken, the government, may again keep deferring, and there is no obligation in any case to meet the disinvestment target. However, given the requirement for fiscal deficit, there would be a lot of pressure in terms of trying to raise some money. So I do expect that the strategic sale in BALCO and Hindustan Zinc, a SUUTI sale of Axis, and maybe one or two FPOs could happen during this financial year, and we can achieve 40,000 crores. I mean, it's not a large amount to be worried about. There is enough investor appetite for a good company at a good price. 40,000 crores is very small money, and the government we still have almost 3 months left for this year. So the target can be met. I think we have to only plan and execute in a manner that we are able to achieve this target.
All right, Prithvi, thanks a lot for your time. Always appreciate your